now I need to tweet out things
Shiny.
and all that good stuff.
Now comes the most important question, Dan. How big is your button?
Oh, well, that's... you can find out for $9.95 a month.
Oh, man. I thought that was the point of Twitter, was to talk about how big your button is.
Yeah, but it's not very good quality, though, in the description.
Stream is up.
You get what you pay for. All right.
140 characters for free.
Didn't they increase that? Isn't it more 140 characters now? Or did they ever?
Oh, did they?
I think so. I think so. Anyway, greetings and salutations. Welcome to the 298th episode of PolyCast. I'm regular co-host Dan Q, and soon to be joined by regular co-host Makalua. Falsetto here. There we go. Just for you, those of you in the live audience, like the buzzing and, well, who else heard that? Why, that would be returning guests New Earth Relic.
I apparently am secretly Phil, as we have never been seen together in the same place or stream.
And Canis Albinus.
What?
I'm sorry, Canis Albinus.
Doesn't matter.
And yes, the Me and team, third regular co-host, is unavailable, not feeling well, and our new fourth regular co-host, Mega Bears fan, is going to join us in March. So, that is that, but oh my gosh, do we have a lot of things to talk about. Dear 2K, I guess the New Year's resolution we talked about, where you would coordinate timing with us, I guess hasn't kicked in yet, so you might want to get on that, but that's alright. Let's get to it. There's some announcement that we should cover, even though we talked about it on the Christmas special. And by we, I mean PolyCast, not me personally.
Yeah, they introduced Civ 6 Rise and Fall. It's an expansion pack. It's got a whole bunch of new leaders. It's got a whole bunch of new mechanics. It's got a whole bunch of pretty much everything. Looks to be pretty similar to Gods and Kings from Civ 5 in terms of adding a whole lot of useful new stuff. Although they don't go and add in a whole lot of new text, it looks like. But yeah, whole lot of new stuff in Rise and Fall.
And it's going to be released very, very soon. I mean, this was announced at the end of November, and we get it 2 months later on
February 8th, 2018. Which is, through my powers of arithmetic, 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away.
So what that's going to mean for PolyCast is on this episode, we're going to prioritize talking about the new civilizations, or the first looks, as they're also known as. And then on the next episode, we're going to try to cover, adequately, everything that is not civilization specific, because we also have a few other things that we want to talk about, and then when we record our third episode, we'll be talking about our first impressions of this expansion pack. So I guess in a way the timing helped us, because we can talk about most of the new civilizations that are to be included in this expansion pack, and we might as well get started with the one that was announced first. And that, I believe, goes to Mackie. Hello, Mackie.
Oh god, I just walked in. What?
Well, speaking of this first civilization that was announced, Firaxis and 2K also walked into something when they announced a certain something about this civilization, but we'll get to that a little later.
Well, no, I finally remembered. It's Korea, yes, but I don't have my notes up yet.
There's the link for you in the Skype chat.
All right, let's see what else on this computer decides to be slow this morning.
Hopefully your fan decides to be slow.
I don't know. It's sort of starting to go up there. It's like maybe I'll be slow. Maybe I will.
Maybe I'll just go and max out for no good reason.
I don't know why it does that. It's still a mystery. Come on, Link, open.
Yeah. Otherwise, if that's... Well, if that's taking too long, then there's also I'll also put the link to the Well of Souls.
That's where I was going for. I was going for the Well of Souls one.
Oh, okay.
So wait a minute. Right, Korea. A name I am not going to try and pronounce because it would come out completely wrong.
Well, but right before the show started, New Earth Relic did some research on how to pronounce that, so go ahead and try to pronounce it for us.
It appears to be Sondok. Yeah. The caret in the pronunciation gets mapped to the U in mud and the A in yawn.
Ah, okay. So there we go.
Well, we still have Dan's favorite unit.
I don't know, what could that possibly be? Oh, wait, I know. Whatcha!
Oh, they
This
get
is
turtle
why-
ship again?
No, this Dan's favorite thing to say. They've got the Sewon district, Shawon district. It's +6 science, plus +1. It's the replacement for the. I'm gonna call it the university district, but it's early and I can't remember. Thank you.
Campus.
Campus district. So slightly more science, I believe.
Fixed amount.
Yeah. It's a whole lot of science, though.
Yeah, I mean when you get +6, that +6 as soon as you're able to build those in the early game. Yeah, hi, I'll take that.
Isn't that as much as university plus library together?
I think so. So that's like, yeah. You're
But
gonna.
every district you build next to it reduces that number.
Oh, so you have to make sure it's isolated off in the mountains.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite.
Must be on hills.
I can deal with that. I mean, seriously, there's a lot of times when you get hills under rainforests, so there you go. Because you don't always get hills next to mountains, necessarily. I skipped ahead past the watch out there, but movement of 2, combat strength 30, range strength of 50, and 2 range. But you do have to get to gunpowder to get that. And like anything else that's the ranged unit at that point, you cannot move and fire at the same time, or same turn. So,
Yeah, I'm kind of confused on the Watch Shot. It seems like a cheaper, worse, and later bombard. Is the big advantage to it just the fact that it's like half production?
Probably so. It's a cheap bombard. So you could
Yeah.
spam it out a lot faster than... Because I know, just, from practical experience, that when you get to the point where you're building the bombards, it takes forever. It feels like forever. Even on quick speed, it feels like forever to get that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I've ever built bombards. I usually just buy them with dollar bills. I go with the Dan strategy of campus and commercial districts everywhere, and just buy everything.
Oh, there's the fan. Hi, fan. First time I hear the fan this year. If you can hear it. I don't know.
Actually,
Haven't heard
no.
it yet.
Oh, really? Oh, it
Yeah.
sounded louder to me. Wow.
No, that's usually the
Honey.
way, right? We're the ones that tell you about the fan.
Yeah. All right, the Civ special ability is 3 kingdoms, which is mines yield +1 science and farms yield +1 food if built adjacent to that special district, to the special campus district.
Well,
Wait,
Yeah,
that's
that's really
Just-
strong.
that's very strong.
Yeah,
I
if you're
mean-
building one up next to a mountain, you're going to probably have some hills next to it that you mine. I guess if you got lucky and you had a hill district that's surrounded by a bunch of farms, you could get extra food that way, but I don't know so much about that.
I mean, it really depends on your starting terrain. Like, as you said, there could be, if you're near a mountain, then you could have a mine. And there's probably got some kind of flat land nearby, so that could actually be something where, oh, this is plains, this is flat plains, it's only going to get me +2 food for right now, until I get it later on in the technology tree. Well, if you build it next to CU1, then it will now be +3, and that can help build your city more, which would be the more attractive equivalent of a grassland, let alone a grassland itself becoming +4, etc. So while it is very placement dependent, that unique district for a campus, seeing as how I would argue the campus versus encampment, but at some point early on, you should be building a campus, and as if there wasn't already a reason to build a campus, here's another reason to build that. Plus, to tie back briefly just to the leader bonus with an established governor, we know we're going to be able to get to a governor through civic progression. So depending upon when that first governor comes around, there's yet even more science and more culture to go along with what it is that you're doing. It all seems to work really well together, actually.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Korea is science synergy, basically. Because to go back to where Dan was referring to the leader bonus, her particular leader bonus is a +5 culture and +5 science in all cities with an established governor.
Yeah, that seems to be pretty good overall.
And seeing as how, I mean, I don't know how often we're going to be able to get governors, but there are what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So
There's 7, yeah.
So there could be 7. So that's 5% more. And so then you might say, well, at the beginning, how much is that really going to be? Because that's, 5% of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. But you start building your cities more and more, and hey, you've got the CO1 and you've got more food to grow your city more. So then you get more science, so long as you're ensuring that you're, staying caught up in your housings. Hello, granary for even more food and more housing, as an example. That's going to set you up very well particularly into the mid game, I would say. But you establish that all at the beginning.
Yeah, it looks like they've demonstrated 2 tiers of government buildings that give you a governor. I don't actually know when they come out. It's a civic policy, it looks like. Yeah, the first one comes out as state workforce, which is pretty early.
That is early, and that's on your way to political philosophy besides, for your first choices of, let's get out of chiefdom already. So it's something you're going to be doing anyway, or should be doing anyway.
Yeah, the second tier come a little bit later. It just doesn't say when it comes. It just says requires a tier 1 government building for the tier 2s. Requires government plaza. Yeah, I don't know when that comes.
Yeah, since we don't know where that is in the tech tree yet.
Probably medieval is my guess. Might be the Renaissance. Yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
And then, of course, I think you mentioned the historical agenda, did you?
Oh, no. We don't know what the actual name of it is, but it's basically, she likes you if you have science. If you're dumb, she doesn't like you.
Yeah, well.
I mean, it's her civ strength being played up, so of course she's going to be like, get learned.
Yeah, exactly. And that shouldn't be an issue for me, if I'm playing, not as Korea, but I find Korea early on because, again, as NER mentioned, it's no, typically the first district I'm going to be constructing is going to be a campus, unless I feel like, oh, there's an early war situation here, in which case I'll just build an encampment and take your stuff, which then allows me to do more science after that, because I don't want you to start to run away from me. But typically it is a campus, so you encounter me, and I may not be as strong as Korea is with science just because of their inherent abilities, but certainly should be pretty respectable. So I can get her on my side and keep her on my side pretty quickly until I want to, do away with her.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that early start potential. If you have 2 iron next to a Seowon, that's 8 science from your district right there. That's really good.
And then pretty soon you'll be able to, through the civic tree, get to recorded history, and then you could adopt the policy that will double that. Okay, now we're at 16, and that's in one city.
Yeah, drop a couple more cities after that, and seems like she's going to fill out fast.
Yeah, and get more governors as you progress through the civic tree and constructing this government plaza, whatever that happens to be. And then you can get even more science. And, of course, more culture to go along with that, it's kind of nice that there's that added culture aspect there, because it's not that you're not going to be doing that. I mean, I find for myself, honestly, when I first settle a city, the first thing I'm constructing is a monument. And part of that is because, it could be a monument or a scout, except that a scout is a lot cheaper to purchase than a monument is, even though it's comparable amount of turns to complete. So construct that, and then even before you've got a monument in place, you're already getting +5 culture. And then get the monument. It's a cheap building, and you get more culture. Excellent. This looks to be a really strong civilization. I wonder if in competitive multiplayer, some people are going to be like, no.
Are we gonna have to ban Korea? Oh, you know what? We're gonna have to ban Grim from Korea. Oh God.
Oh no.
Sorry,
no,
Grim. We love you, but you're not allowed to play Korea.
I think I can already hear Grim saying, look, if Mackie's allowed to play Australia every other week, I can play Korea every other week too. We'll just off weeks. We can't have you playing Australia and Grim playing Korea at the same time, unless we put just the two of you in a game by yourself and we enjoy the carnage afterwards. That's fine. I'm on board with this.
Also, enjoy all the times in the AI Korea is going to declare on everybody for being stupid.
Yeah, you know, when it talks about, you know, like civilizations that have strong science and dislikes those that do not, I guess there's that kind of there is that caveat in there, right? When you're looking at the victory conditions and you're looking at who's ahead in science, it's, oh, strictly speaking on the list, you're ahead of me in science because you've discovered more technologies than I have. Yeah, but those might be some earlier, cheaper techs that really aren't giving you some kind of advantage militaristically, economically, culturally, etc. So are you really ahead? Which is probably how they're going to measure it. It's probably going to be based on number of technologies as opposed to beakers per turn. But in any event, if she does get all snarky about that and not like me for science because of that, then I will show her just how technologically superior I am.
I have a feeling she's going to hate everybody. Because if she's that strong in science, then nobody's going to be able to keep up.
To be fair, that's about on par with the AI so far.
Yeah,
I don't like you.
Unless
She's
we
just
hem
picking
her
a
in.
different reason than we've normally been hearing lately.
We'll just hem her in. We'll just ensure that she doesn't get very many cities. And then she won't have much of a boost. Oh, that's your 5% boost to your, 5, 10, 15 science from your, 1 or 2 cities that you've founded. That's nice. Good luck with that. I'll just, continue. I don't know if this is a segue to this next civ or not, but why not? Speaking of containment.
Queen Wilhelmina of Amsterdam. Yep, we get the Dutch back. We also get the Dutch polder back. Food, production, housing, and food for adjacent polders can only be built on a coast. Seems to make land, kind of. I don't know if we can walk on it or not, but it looks like you can. Their historical agenda is billionaire. They like civilizations that have trade routes that go to her, and she will not be happy if you don't send her one. Civilization ability, I'm going to attempt to pronounce this, and then I'm going to apologize to every Dutchman listening. Grootrevieren. Campuses, theater districts, and industrial zones get major adjacency bonuses from rivers, and harbors perform the Polish culture bomb. The leader ability is Radio Orange. Domestic trade routes increase loyalty, while foreign trade routes increase culture. And their unique unit is I believe it's a frigate replacement called De Zeven Provinciën. Increased range combat and combat strength. Bonuses to attacking defensible districts.
Yes, it is a frigate replacement.
Destroys cities, basically.
And apparently it comes at square rigging when you would otherwise get frigates besides. Let's see, based on what you'd said. Oh, it also apparently has a penalty against other ships, but it has a bonus against defensible districts before you could even get the promotion for defense against districts. So go attack some districts, get a promotion, defend yourself against districts more, and as Candace was saying, all back to take cities. Help take cities.
Always take cities.
Mm-hmm. The only thing we don't know about is if it's cheaper to construct or not. But even if it's not,
it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be cheaper though, because you're already getting lots of advantages from this. But anyway, and then of course, well, I mean, if you find out that the Dutch are going to be back in Civ, I mean, the one thing that was kind of a given was what their unique terrain improvement was going to be, and we knew they were going to have one. You just have to.
There has to be tulips. They can't be gone.
Yeah, the polder was definitely interesting. I know in the Skype chat we had some discussions on how it was going to work, and if you could go and spread them throughout the coast. And it looks like you need to have 3 adjacent So you can't just go and polder off the entire coast.
Yeah, it's got to be constructed in coastal waters with at least 3 adjacent land tiles, none of which can be hills.
Yeah.
But
so if you have a
have
bay or an inlet, then you can go and polder it out. But
yeah,
if
because
it's
you can't
just...
have adjacent polders. So that's and each one of those improvements is 0.5 housing to go along with the +2 food. So that's actually also very helpful. It's not, hey, we've got all this food, but we can't grow our population, so it's just rotting in the fields.
It's also super helpful because you use up the mostly useless coast tiles versus the land tiles I go and use to build districts.
Let's see what else. Elsewise, kind of going back over here. Okay, the leader ability. Domestic trade routes increase loyalty, and foreign trade route increases culture. Well, So does that mean, for example? Well, okay, I'm gonna start again. If it's increasing culture, then I'm assuming it's at least +1 per turn for the existence of that trade route, which may or may not be impacted by other variables. But I really don't know how to compare that right now to the domestic trade route ability, which increases loyalty, because what's that? We don't have that. We don't have that mechanic yet. So culture sounds good, but maybe loyalty is better, either full stop or situationally. Whatever it is, just like with anything, I just hope it's not, oh, you always want to have a foreign trade route as the Netherlands because it's better than the other.
Yeah, but you always do want to have those nice foreign trade routes to the Netherlands because she likes you. And I think that actually might be the first agenda that actually makes someone like you instead of the usual where it seems to make everyone dislike you.
Well, sure, I would love to have a trade route with her so then I can construct a road to her capital so I can move my units more quickly along to squash her. But hey, if she likes that idea, then I'm all for it too. And she won't see it coming. Ha ha! Squish. All right. So the third civilization for the Rise and Fall expansion to be announced is
sending a trade route to Wilhelmina and her capital because it's good for them. And by that I mean it's Mongolia. It's led by Genghis Khan.
Yeah, if Phil were here, I mean, it's appropriate that we say that you're replacing the Mian team this time, NER, because Phil would be all over this, I'm sure. Also, the requisite should have been in the game upon release. Better late than never. Perhaps, ? Something. Anyway, continue.
I was actually kind of happy to not see Mongolia in the base game, but you knew that it was going to be in expansion at some point.
If you're going to be Phil, you have to remember to say your user interface sucks.
Oh, okay. So your user interface sucks? Did I do that right?
Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you. Just making sure I have that down.
Well, that's true. That is the authentication line to say that you are like Phil.
Oh, good. So yeah, Mongolia, led by Genghis Khan in a choice that should surprise roughly no one. Their unique ability is the Or2. I think I pronounced that one correctly. When you send a trade route, you immediately create a trading post. You get a bonus tier of diplomatic visibility for having a trading post with any city that civilization controls. And for every level of diplomatic visibility, your units get +3 to combat strength for each level. And
yeah,
that's gonna be fun.
Like, I could see, okay, trader would immediately create a trading post, which of course you would normally only get that trading post once the trade route actually completed, but you get that immediately upon creating it, and then you get the increase in diplomatic visibility and the combat bonus for each level of diplomatic visibility. Perhaps maybe, why don't you go ahead and then once you complete the trade route, like let it run its course over the 20 turns or whatever, then maybe you get an increase in diplomatic visibility along with a combat bonus for each level of diplomatic visibility. So I guess if you're not playing as Mongolia, you better be watching for those trade routes.
It's historically accurate. They were good at spying.
Yeah. I'm about to say, I feel kind of awkward that Mongolia is better at doing the whole spying thing than the culture that's based around spying, namely France. So
France isn't a culture based on spying. It's just that Catherine's ability is about spying.
that's
So-
fair. Everything in France is pretty much spies or something to do with spies and their chateaus. So
Yeah,
I sort of
if in another expansion they give us like Louis the 14th or something, it'll be totally different.
yeah, that would be kind of interesting to see him show up as a leader in one of these expansions.
Well, it's completely plausible, seeing as what we're going to be talking about with the next civilization, or more accurately, perhaps leader announced. But anyway,
Yeah. Back to
Mongolia
Mongolia. Their unique building is the Ordu. It's a stable replacement. It's looks to be exactly the same as the stable, except +1 movement to cavalry units built there. It's good. I'm not really super excited about it, but it's pretty good. The bonus movement is much better in Civ 6 because of all the terrain penalties over Civ 5, but
Yeah, I mean, cavalry units, right now, hey, maybe this will change with the Rise and Fall expansion, but how often do I construct such units? Not that often.
1.337774 times 10 to the 0.
so 1.3374. Did I get that right?
No,
Close
the
enough.
answer is 1.
Sure, why
anything
not?
anything to the power of 0 is 1.
Oh, okay. That's how you're distributing it then. I was assuming parentheses in the wrong place. So their leader ability on Genghis is the Mongol Horde. +3 combat strength for cavalry and a chance to capture defeated cavalry. So yeah, they're good at cavalry. I don't know if you're seeing a theme here, but it involves cavalry. I know, right?
Mongols and horses? What?
Yep.
This means
Their
that
unique unit is the Keshig. It's the same cost as the Knight. It's less strong. It's got a melee 30 and a range 40 versus a melee of 48, but they get +1 movement. And the fact that they get a range attack of 2 tiles is actually surprisingly good, I think.
As a Civilization 4 player, I'm like, wait, that's Kashig, not Kashik? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they
Maybe
keep
they
changing how they
spelled it
spell it.
wrong.
I've noticed that spellings have changed quite a bit because Karakorum used to be K's as well. In Civ
Yep.
4. The capital was K's instead of Q's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's more of a problem with trying to translate different character sets. So yeah, it's Mongolia. They have cavalry, and they do a whole lot of cavalry stuff on other cavalry stuff.
Scythia's gonna like him.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
I mean, certainly, any mounted unit's ability to move in and attack and then withdraw is definitely going to be helpful to getting rid of the Carpet of Doom, which would then, of course, allow you to go in and take cities. Of course, assuming that you're on any kind of decent landmass that has land. So there's actually, room to move these units around. But yeah, there's definitely a speed factor involved here between all the stuff about the cavalry and then the immediately creating things and the immediately gaining things upon trade routes. So while I don't feel like I want to play with that first as compared to, say, Korea, I think there's enough to differentiate this from other civilizations that it could be quite strong.
Yeah, I feel like the best tactic that I'm going to use against Mongolia is actually just the Carpet of Doom, just because they're like, I move everywhere, and you're just like, okay, cool. Guess what? I have like 41 pikemen who are all in this giant, 6x6 block of nothing but pikemen, and that's gonna be about it. All that movement isn't gonna do them any use because I have a wall of pikemen. I don't know. Be interesting playing against them or with them. I kind of wish they had something that wasn't all military, but that also matches a Civ, so...
And we knew right from the beginning when Rise and Fall was announced, there were going to be 8 civilizations but 9 new leaders, so here's the new leader to go along with an existing civilization in the game. that is to Canis.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, we get a new Indian leader from the nation of India, Chandragupta. His capital is Patna, and he doesn't like it when there are borders with him. He hates people who are on his borders. So that's going to be problematic. His
Yeah.
leader.
I'm already thinking, hey, you forward settled me. Oh, now you don't like me because I border you. Wait, what? But that's your fault, dude.
Yeah, and it gets even better because his ability is Arthrashastra. Arthrashastra. And it allows him to declare wars of territorial expansion before you normally get the CB. We don't really know exactly what that means. Maybe right away, I don't know. And movement and strength bonuses for combat units at the start of a war of territorial expansion. So
Yeah, so remember that this is India, and the only thing that is changing here is the historical agenda and leader ability. They still have the Varu, for example.
yeah.
So it already has a melee strength of 40. It reduces the combat strength of adjacent enemy units by -5. And now it says plus movement and strength, so I don't know. That much more than 40, we don't know how much. But if it increases the movement, that's at least a 3 movement Varu now. Plus, if they can declare a war of territorial expansion earlier, then they'll get less warmonger penalty, which means that they would be able to do this for longer than having to worry about amenity situations, for example, and issues. So, yeah, that could definitely be a problem, which, as you kind of segued there, Canis, does not like bordering nations. So it's not going to take much for this individual to go to war.
Yeah, it says that it's +5 combat strength for the War of Territorial Expansion. So that's basically an effective 50 strength in the Varu.
Right, between their +5 and then the -5 from the
Yeah.
adjacent enemy unit loss. Ooh, okay, there you go.
25% increase.
Yeah. The elephants are busy being all stompy.
Stompy Stampy.
Yeah. So the real question is he a fan of nukes?
Well,
Boy, if you thought Gandhi liked to drop a nuke on your head, this
That-
guy. Borders
that
are
should-
touching me.
yeah, I'm actually looking forward to when there's both a Gandhi India and this gentleman's India. And then we can actually see just how much they like the nukes on each other.
Yeah, we're going to call out the Fallout mod.
Oh dear.
Oh
President
my!
Eaton involved.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Speaking of Fallout, and we'll get to this later, but next Civ, that's an excellent segue, actually.
Yeah, next civ is the Kree. They are led by Poundmaker. They have a unique ability, Nihitha, I think I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, my apologies. That gives +1 trade route capacity, free trader at pottery, and they get to grab free tiles when their traders move into them. I know Dan is super excited about that because he hears trade route and
Well,
like
yeah.
a dog in the dog whistle.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, my gosh. Not only do you get the +1 trade route capacity, but you get the free trader to go with it at pottery. And it's not that far until currency. So there's another trade route capacity. And then you can also claim territory kind of like a settler would. Not just kind of like a settler would. But yeah, as long as it's in 3 tiles of the Kree City's center, and when a trader first moves through them. So that means you're going to be grabbing that land relatively quickly because that trader, assuming you send it somewhere, is actually going to, of course, start moving right away, on the turn rollover. So that's pretty nice, actually. It's like, no,
Are we going to have to... Is this going to be an automated thing? Is our traders go between Kree cities, or do we have to manually do that?
Well, seeing as how the trader itself is automated, I would say that when the trader first moves through them, it will claim that territory based on the path that it's going to take between those cities. So you can be like, what are you talking about? Hey, you're expanding your territory. I'm just trading with you. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that'd be great because I like to send an internal trade route when I start a new city, just for that one time at least, to get it to start up faster. So then, oh look, I'm gonna get a bunch of extra tiles while I'm doing it.
Oh man, and then tie this right with India, who again does not like bordering nations, and this is how Korea expand
Oh
their
God,
borders.
Korea against India. That's gonna be pretty.
Oh, wow! You know the games are already writing themselves, and the expansion's not even out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, my biggest concern with it actually is that I'm worried about not being able to go and send a trade route anywhere. I just need to make sure I scout pretty well, which segues into the unique unit, the Okithitha? Okithitha? Almost. I got that one wrong, so my
Let's call it
apologies.
the
for that one.
Oki.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
guess so. It's a double strength scout with the same power as a warrior, and it also starts with a free promotion. So that's really strong. Having cheaper warriors that have bonus movement and a free promotion, that's a really good starting unit right there.
And remember that free promotion is unrestricted movement in either hills or forests.
Oh
So-
yeah, that's going to be really strong. So you at least get the scouts to go and send your traders to, hopefully. Unless you get super unlucky and you start on a tiny little island all by yourself. In which case you get to be sad. They get an improvement. Let's see how I get this one wrong too.
Mechawop?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
I might have,
I'm like, is this too
anglicized that
easy?
much, but anyway,
yeah, I'm like, is this too easy? It can't be that easy. It unlocks at pottery. It's +1 production, plus half a housing, and +1 gold per adjacent luxury resource. And it's plus half a food per adjacent bonus resource. So just find your resources, drop it between them, and you get bonuses to food, housing, and gold for each resource. And +1 production is a flat bonus. So yeah, that seems really strong too.
and available early at Pottery, which you'd want to be thinking about anyway for Granary and perhaps Watermill if you've got cities on a river, if you're any civ. And then you're also getting the +1 trade route capacity and free trader at Pottery. So, and then it's like, oh, I don't have to construct a trader unit now. I can construct another builder and start with these tile improvements. Wow.
Yeah, especially because you build a builder and you build a bunch of them, and then you get more production to build more builders. And before you know it, you're on this endless spiral of builders and improvements. And yeah, it's a thing.
So I guess, again, because that can provide food when adjacent to a bonus resource, if you've got plains adjacent to that bonus resource and you put this unique improvement down, then that's also a 3-food plains tile.
Yeah.
So it really
Plus
changes your
bonus
perspective on how good or bad you think your starting location is. Nice.
Yeah, look for those resources. Hope to get a cattle so you can build Great Zimbabwe.
Hey, and that'll
Yeah.
go along with your +1 trade route capacity too. Hey, I get another trade route. And guess what? There's another 20+ gold a turn. Thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Start my capital next to 6, 7, 8 resources. Try upgrade Zimbabwe if I can, and yeah, tons of gold from both the improvement and Great Zimbabwe, plus a bunch of production from the improvement. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and speaking of pastures, like from Great Zimbabwe, commercial hubs.
Yeah. So Poundmaker's leader ability is favorable terms. Alliances give shared visibility for everyone. And the more important part in my mind is trade routes are better. They give you +1 food, 1 gold per camp or pasture in the city that you send a trade route to. It's really good. It comes down really early, especially because camps and pastures both come out really early. And you just get piles of food and gold early. And it seems to be a pretty common theme for this civ. Get your trade routes, get them early, and they'll be really good for you.
Look at all these stacks of deer haunches.
Yep.
So instead of starting the city from my capital, I should be sending the settler over to the new city and having them come from the opposite direction. Because I would probably have more camps or pastures at the capital early on.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see anything about it being a foreign city, so internal trade routes also seem really good for it. Yeah.
Take some cities from Russia, you'll get lots of camps.
And then last but not least, in terms of the 6th of 8 new civilizations, obviously on the next episode we will discuss the last 2, but this is the kind of what civilization is this? Question mark. That has been raised a lot since this civ was announced.
Tamar of Georgia. Not Georgia where Atlanta is, Georgia where Tbilisi is. So yeah, she has the historical agenda related to liking walls. Narikala Fortress. She likes it when you build walls, and she likes it when you build walls. She likes walls.
Also walls. Walls,
Yes,
walls, walls, walls,
and
walls.
walls.
It's I don't know. It seems odd
Yes.
in some way. I just
Well, you gotta hold off the Ottomans somehow.
I don't know. It's like I like it when you use protection. Lol. Like I don't know. Like what am I supposed to take away from this?
Yeah, but also it's specifically to one type of development. You know, it's not anything else. It's not like Korea's like, I like it when you build science things. But I guess because walls are the only defense thing, quote unquote, we have.
Pretty much. I mean, I guess you could say build encampments, but that would be like, how would you? That would still make her the only one that would be like, oh, I like that you built encampments.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she's got some bonus for sending trade routes to somebody, or they've got the increased visibility by being in an alliance with somebody, in which case, okay, it's more likely that you're going to still be around to be my ally to get this benefit. Like, what is she getting out of this?
Probably nothing, actually.
Less than nothing.
She get out of the fact that we have walls.
Yeah, it looks like a flavor to me, basically. But that's not the only civ that has a flavor thing like that, I don't think.
No, but I'm really scratching my head to think about.
This was just kind of stands out somehow.
Like, when you talk about flavor, and everyone knows that I love Star Trek, and I think of Star Trek The Next Generation, and the android who tries, I think it was prune juice for the first time, and, oh, it tastes awful, yes, I would like more. That sounds like the flavor for her, which is, oh my gosh, I love the fact that you have walls, so when I declare war on you, you're more likely to put up a good fight?
Yeah.
Well, I think that this kind of gives the indication that if you build walls, she'll like you, and if you don't build walls, she won't like you and declare war on you because you have no walls. So I think it just helps her out.
Well, except that right now, the historical agenda does not have the converse dislikes you if you don't build walls, as compared to what we've had documented for Korea. So it's also an incomplete flavor too, an incomplete flavor profile. That's the that's
I'm
their
neutral
subtitle.
if you don't have walls, but if you do have walls, bonus.
Yeah, it's like okay, all right.
Okay.
We'll set that aside for now, girlfriend, and we'll move on to your some other ability.
Okay, your leader ability, Strength and Unity. At the start of a Golden Age, you get to make a Golden Age and a Normal Age dedication. Some kind of new feature that I do not know about. I'm guessing you get a bonus at the start of an age?
And in this case, instead of 1, you get 2. Oh, okay. Well, I guess my question
when we know
is,
more about Golden Ages, that'll make more sense.
and dedications and whether they're useful or not. Yeah, that might be, that might be really good, or who cares,
Yeah, there's a couple listed already for the dedication. I don't know if you guys saw it on the Well of Souls page. There's free inquiry which is a normal age, +1 era score, which I'm not sure what it does. Every time you trigger Eureka, and you also get to 1 era score for constructing a building that provides science as a base yield. And it also has a different ability on the Golden Age, for example. Eureka's are an extra 10% technology costs, and Commercial Hub and Harbor District's goal adjacency bonus provides science as well. So it looks like you get a whole bunch of cool things for starting in age and doing well in that age.
Oh yeah, right on Well of Souls, the known dedication bonuses, and as you said, at the start of a golden age, you make a golden age and a normal age dedication bonus. So you read the golden age ones, did you?
Yeah, for free inquiry. Just because I was at one on top.
Okay.
So yeah, it does a bunch of stuff, and it looks like a choice that you make every time you enter a new age, and you get bonuses to try and get through your age and do stuff well at that age.
As I look at the Golden Census as a related aside to and tying into the Georgian Civ, I see +2 movement for missionaries, apostles, and inquisitors, +3 starting population for cities settled on a different continent other than your first city. Your traders cannot be plundered. Oh, that sounds like maybe a change to one of the city-states ability then, because there's the water-based ones that can't be plundered by some commercial city-state. Forgetting the name right now. Inspirations
Portugal.
provide additional. That's the one. Inspirations provide an additional 10% of civic costs, or my favorite from the Golden Age, +2 movement for all builders. And builders and settlers are 30% cheaper to purchase with faith in gold. Okay, well, actually, just that alone, if you start a Golden Age and you get to make a Golden Age and a Normal Age dedication, then okay, that can be powerful. That should be powerful. Okay, all right. So she's got something. We'll just ignore this historical agenda, and I don't know if this completely makes up for the oddity that is historical agenda, but it certainly doesn't take away from the Civ. This actually makes the Civ sound a little decent, a little more decent.
Well, here's something that'll make it sound even more decent. Unique unit is Kev Soretti, which is a swordsman replacement that gets a bonus on hills. I don't think we know when it becomes available or if it is any different than the normal starting time for this particular unit. But I believe it has a higher strength than normal as well. I'm looking it up.
So yeah, +7 combat strength in the hill terrain. Ignores hill movement penalties. According to the Well of Souls, quote, looks like it may replace swordsman. Yeah, the timeline in the first look video shows an event for the first of these units being built in the classical era, and it's shown fighting against a Mongol swordsman. Okay, so if it comes early enough to compete with other swordsmen, the replacement, then okay.
Yeah, it's +4 strength already, and then the +7 combat strength for bonus and hill, and ignoring hill movement penalties makes it actually pretty good.
Oh, I just had this sudden flash of brilliance. Yeah, capital B or lowercase b, depending upon your interpretation here. She likes you if you build walls, right? So if she likes you, presumably then she's less likely to declare war on you because she knows that you have walls, so therefore she would indirectly then look at civilizations that don't have walls to move in her unique swordsman to go and take your stuff. Oh. Wow, you're sneaky, lady. You're sneaky.
I said that, earlier, but okay.
Oh, did you? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed
Yeah,
it.
that was the thing I said, and then you said, well, but it doesn't have the negative as also.
Oh, well, I was focused on the negative, okay.
Danny's going to accentuate the positive.
Yeah.
Oh well. Unique building, Tishki, replaces the Renaissance Wall, less cost and more faith. Pretty mediocre because nobody builds Renaissance walls. I don't know anybody who even builds medieval walls except with a great engineer.
Yeah, if they got rid of that, I'm forgetting now, that Civic that gives you the +200 strength automatically in all of your cities, then you might actually bother to build such walls, in which case a replacement wall, presumably a better wall, yes, costs less and gives faith, might actually be worthwhile. So I will say that's less a negative against the Civ and more about the mechanics in relation to walls.
It used to be civil engineering, but I don't think it's civil engineering anymore. I think they moved it later.
No, that does sound familiar, but at the same time, I think if you're far enough along in technology, and you've got units to field, plus you've got a unit in the city, plus you've got the an existing wall if you're really looking for that bombard capability, which of course is a very added good capability, then I don't really think it matters that it comes sooner or later in the end. You're still not going to build these walls, because why don't you just go out and construct a unit that could actually both be on the offensive as well as the defensive and move around the map.
Yeah, it's a problem
Yeah.
with the scaling overall. Once you have a wall, further walls don't do nearly as much because your city strength tracks with the strength of the best unit that you've made so far. So you get to just have your cities get better at defending themselves just for not building walls.
Yeah, I mean, you can double your city strength by building a caravel.
Hmm.
I guess otherwise with Civilizations, it's worth noting that there are a couple of updates to Vanilla Civs.
Hold on. Hold
Oh,
on.
miss
We
something?
didn't do the civilization ability for Georgia.
Oh, well,
The
you're right.
glory,
yes.
glory of the world, kingdom, and faith. 100% faith for 10 turns after you declare a protectorate war, and city-states get bonus envoys if they follow your religion. There we go.
Okay. But there's nothing inherent to help you get a religion or boost your religion, so I guess... okay, if you are playing as Georgia, then maybe that is an incentive, except in order to declare a protectorate war, that's got to be a city-state that you are the suzerain of that has been declared on by another civilization, so that's a lot of things to line up to be of use to you.
Yeah. Could be better, but
It's clear,
It's
but
not.
it's very situational, and also you get bonus envoys if the city-state follows your religion. I am assuming this is not troll factor, and then the bonus envoys go away once the war is over. The fact that there was a protectorate war declared, you've got them full stop, and they're in place.
Yeah,
I-
it says that it's each envoy you send to a city-state, if your majority religion counts as 2 envoys. So you basically just double up your envoys to religious city-states.
So, and that's for the duration of the war, or that continues on
That's
afterwards?
Just forever.
Okay, good. All right. I mean, it should
Yeah,
be.
that
Don't get
was-
me wrong, because that's the way it works in the game. But gosh knows when they introduce new stuff, I can't help but
sometimes
question
there are
it.
bugs.
Yeah. Well, yes. That or is working
Sometimes
as
the
intended.
moth, sometimes the moth gets stuck in the vacuum tube.
Yeah. That ability actually looks pretty good overall, just because of the double envoys. You start off with early holy sites, then just start spreading your religion to all of the local city-states, and double envoys to get to suzerain for a whole lot of them.
So, based on the 6 that have been announced, I feel like, I said before, I'm kind of leaning towards trying Korea first. Then I think I'd go with the Kree after that. And third right now I think would be the Dutch. And if
I'm going
people are
India all
list-
the way.
Uh,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Candace just wants to stamp things.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's that, and I kind of feel like I'll be able to stamp things with Korea because I'll be farther along in the technology tree and I'll have better stuffs. And then I'll be the Kree and making more money because of my increased trade route capacity. And then as the Dutch, I will get these adjacency bonuses from my campuses for, again, improved technology and then industrial zones, so increased production to be able to construct those things that will be able to go and smack you. But certainly your route is more direct in terms of being able to go smash things. That's true.
More fun.
Yeah, there isn't any one of these civilizations that I feel like is... no, I don't want to play it, but just because of I'm not exactly certain what we're going for here exactly. I'll put Georgia at the bottom, but it's not like, I never want to play Georgia. It's just, it's sounding, well, it got better as we explained it further. As we started looking at the other things, there's just this other thing that's just kind of, well, it doesn't really take away from them. It just doesn't seem to do much of anything
Yeah.
for them.
I feel like Georgia's a little lackluster, but then again, it's not that big an empire historically, so maybe that's the reason.
Oh, but they'll try to make up for it in Civ 6 games, and they'll become this huge empire that takes over the world.
Maybe they'll do what Congo does all the time. Well,
Do what human
it's
players do all the time, play Byzantium.
Yeah, I feel like Georgia might be really good based on the dedication bonuses for Golden Ages. If they end up being really good, Georgia itself could be really good, but I think that's still an open question for them.
And also the question is two. Well, actually, with that is, so what do you have to do to get to a Golden Age? Number one,
we don't know yet.
We don't know yet. And then, of course, there's also and I know this is kind of, going back to the well, just like the user interface has its issues, which is, so the artificial intelligence controlling Georgia, are they going to do a good job of getting to the Golden Age? And are they going to do well with the historical agenda and actually prioritize going after civs that they don't like because they don't have walls, or at least don't like as much because they don't have walls, and then can use their unique unit, etc., etc.? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. On that topic, there was a tweet from Firaxis the other day, and they were like, "Hey guys, there are lots of jobs available at Firaxis. You can get all these cool jobs. Let me tell you which ones are available." And then it goes through this list of like 6 or 7 different jobs, and AI programmer wasn't on there. It was animators, audio designers, character modelers, engineers, graphics designers, level designers. Like, huh.
It's interesting that that's being posted when we're less than a month away from an expansion being released. So you're not going to be working that much on the expansion. So, well, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be Civ either. Maybe they're working on something else. Who knows?
XCOM 3 is my guess, especially level designer.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's definitely not a Civ thing.
That's true. Or some other expansion maybe to XCOM 2.
Or maybe a new IP.
Well, that's possible.
We might get.
I know what it is. I got it. Sid Meier's Dinosaurs. It's coming back. It's a level designer. That's what they're being used for. Yeah, finally Sid figured out how to make it fun.
The golf game, finally.
Oh, there's a Sid Meier's Sim Golf.
You mean the sequel to Sim Golf?
Yeah.
Well, we
Sid
got
Meier's Pirates 2.
Ooh, Pirates, yar.
I just hope if they do make a Pirates 2, they fix the Sailing West thing. Or Sailing East thing, I'm sorry. If you are at Corpus Christi, Texas, and you're trying to get to any place in the Lesser Antilles, good luck. It's going to take you 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, what wind? You just need wind, but all the wind goes the other way.
It's blowing against us.
And the Vanilla Civilization updates to come from the Rise and Fall expansion, of course, which also begs the question, do you have to get the Rise and Fall expansion in order to experience this, or will it come out with a patch along with Rise and Fall? History, to me, tells me that this will come out along with the expansion, and you don't have to get the expansion, but that's just, again, an inference. America, or do we know that?
I don't think that's true, actually, because when Civ 5 had their first expansion, the Ottomans did not get their ability to keep to do prize ships. They did not get that ability removed from them if you didn't have the expansion.
All right, so I thought there were other instances where they did it. Maybe it was an eventual changeover in some other instances. Admittedly, I can't think of something specific, but I feel like they did do that. But there was that too. And the fact that this is talked about as a vanilla an update for civilizations within the expansion, yeah, because what they're talking about in terms of updates are not seemingly based on any rise and fall mechanics, so it seems like something that they could do to the base game, but yeah, they may not. Hello, modders. America, changing its founding father bonus, it will now replace one diplomacy slot with a wildcard slot, which is actually preferable, seeing as how a wildcard slot, I don't think most people choose to use a diplomacy policy for that. And Sumeria, get bonus alliance points when in a joint war. Other than that, for civilizations, I enjoyed on CFC the confirmed as not being civilizations, seeing as how certain cities are still seen as a city-state. which is interesting. Kind of, we know they're not going to be because of this.
Not in
Interesting.
Canada, I take it.
Well, I mean, interestingly, on this list on CFC, Canada isn't even listed as a civilization not being confirmed, which is kind of what I enjoy is what they include as civilizations not being confirmed. I mean, sure, it includes Babylon and the Celts and the Maya, but it also includes countries like Sri Lanka, Lithuania, and Afghanistan as confirmed as not being civilizations, but there's not Canada not being confirmed as a civilization. Not that I really care, but I'm just like, okay.
Rude.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, sure thing.
Well, maybe that means that Canada has a chance.
Yeah, hope springs eternal, I suppose. Yeah, there is that. Maybe
Does Canada have a female prime minister?
We did have a female prime minister, but she was in power for a few months and she was not elected. She was
so
she was.
That's not a good choice then.
She became the leader of the political party in power after the prime minister resigned because he knew he was going to get thumped in the polls, which he did. So it wasn't a very good beginning for a female prime minister in Canada. No, we've had premiers that have fared far better, but not nationally. No. I guess otherwise with time, even before we get into some other topics, because rather than getting into the systems, there are some other, say city-related things that we could probably address as well, including the map. Let's see here. Do we actually want to do that? Actually, maybe it's easier to go. You know what, Dan? Stick to the topics list, and then if we still have time left over, we can come back and I can edit things so they're a little smoother. Because we do still have a couple of things to talk about in terms of civilizations, and that's in terms of some controversies that have arisen with regards to the first look. While most attention has been given to the Kree, there was and is some controversy that came out first because Korea was announced first, and so there has been some of that.
We need Q&L for this.
Yeah, we need our resident expert to tell us whether this is good or bad.
And my bad, actually, I did not include on the draft of whom is to introduce that. So I will go ahead and I will introduce that, and if anyone else has anything they want to chime in on. Certainly, so starting off with Korea, it was not because Korea was included in the game or anything to do with their abilities, but rather specifically the leader. When the first look was announced, the international version of that first look on the Sid Meier's Civilization YouTube channel has considerably more dislikes than likes as compared to the Western version. Two comments include utterly incompetent, miserable leader, what the hell for Axis, and the secondary consideration, she doesn't even look Korean. I'm not going to focus on the looking or not looking as Korean, but rather about the inclusion of this woman who some people have chalked up to the notion of political correctness and needing to have more female leaders in the game for appearances purposes.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to point out that they also said that the person who followed her was also a woman, and that she apparently did better than Sutak or whatever her name is did.
Yes, that's true. The next leader, although it should be just for some historical context, because I did just a little bit of research. At the time, Korea, of what we know now as Korea, was split into 3 different kingdoms. She was the leader of one, and she was the first reigning queen of this particular kingdom. Canis, yes, pointed out that the next leader also happened to be female, and amongst the earliest female sovereigns recorded in Eastern Asian history besides. Pros, she gained their trust by letting her know of her new policies, saying that she was going to give everyone a fair treatment. She sent officials to different parts of her kingdom to help those people in need, especially widows, orphans, and old people. And she also announced a whole year of tax exemptions for the peasants in the second year. She sought an alliance with the third Korean kingdom when it was being threatened by the second Korean kingdom, and she also strengthened ties with China. She did this through sending emissaries and scholars to China. She's also credited with the initial formation of the Korean chivalric code, and also sent young Koreans to China for martial arts training. However, there was the war between her kingdom and this second kingdom that continued throughout her 27-year reign, and they lost a lot of land. Her people grew anxious, and they lost their faith in her, of course. She also decided one year to build the highest temple at the time, which received lots of complaints from her people. So really, I guess it kind of comes down to balancing the pros and the cons in terms of her as a leader, except she's certainly noteworthy whether it's good or bad, and I'm pretty sure you can say that about, any particular leader. So quite frankly, I kind of look at this decision and it's like damned if you do and damned if you don't in terms of choosing this leader or somebody else.
Well, we did have Montezuma II, who lost to the Spanish, so...
Yeah, and if they were going for it's about political correctness, well, they didn't pick somebody that would be equivalent to like what Dan was talking about with the Canadian Prime Minister who was only a woman for like a few months. They weren't looking to cherry pick somebody out of history. They went for somebody who actually has some historical things going on, also happened to be female, even if it's not the actual Koreans' favoritist leader.
They made a TV series out of her life, so she's apparently famous somewhat.
And part of that was actually because she really had to push to become the leader, because her father was actually going to give it to her son-in-law because he didn't have any sons himself, and she said, no, I challenge you. I want to be the leader. And she managed to curry the favor of the people, and the king ultimately felt compelled to hand it to her. So that's saying something. It's not that it was completely... it's not something that had happened before in that particular kingdom. It wasn't something that you couldn't do. It's just not something that was done, and it surprised a lot of people. So between that and managing to convince the people, and then convincing the reigning monarch to say, okay, fine, I'm going to go ahead and change my mind. Okay, that's also in her favor, I would say.
Well, one could also point out that, America has Teddy Roosevelt, and Teddy Roosevelt wasn't the best president either. He was popular, but he had a lot of things that he was doing that were pretty questionable constitutionally. So there's always a dichotomy of good and bad with any world leader. So I think we should just all calm down a bit.
And then we get to the Cree controversy, which has made national headlines in Canada. Quoting specifically from a CBC article, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, in part because the head of the Cree Nation spoke to the CBC. He said he was initially excited about the inclusion, the fact that, the Cree are going to be a civilization in the game, and you've made Poundmaker the leader, except it was the representation of the Cree and Poundmaker that caused the objection. Quote, perpetuates this myth that First Nations had similar values that the colonial culture has, and that is one of conquering other peoples and accessing their land. This is totally not in concert with our traditional ways and worldview. Unquote. He also said that video game publisher 2K Games should have formally approached the community, offering tobacco and speaking to elders. He says no one from the First Nation was consulted about the project. So I get the not being approached thing to some degree, but that it perpetuates the myth that this First Nation had similar values that the colonial culture has. When we review the historical agenda, the civilization ability, the unique unit, the unique tile improvement, and the leader ability, I'm not seeing that connection. The connection simply being then that Civilization is a game that always has and continues to has a domination means of victory condition, even though that's not the only form of victory condition number one, but more specifically, there is nothing that tells me in terms of how the Cree have been implemented in the game, again, including the leader ability and the historical agenda, that has anything to do with conquering other peoples and accessing their land. So I kind of take this as we're more displeased that you didn't approach us first as compared to the we're not happy with how you implemented it.
Yeah, I was actually pretty happy to see Cree being a very pacifistic nation overall. All their bonuses are trading and exploring and
Alliances.
Yeah, let's go and build ourselves some alliances with trading and everything. It would be one thing if they had all of Mongolia's abilities, for example, where Mongolia has nothing but military abilities. So
I'll
Now-
say something that might be considered controversial, but I would say that pretty much every society in the history of mankind has had similar values. You know, raise a family, protect your children, make some money, be happy. You know, I don't imagine the Kree were any different in that sense, and I don't think they are now. So, giving them the opportunity to do what every other civilization in history has done is no different than what should be done. Because if we were excluding them, there'd be even more complaints. So,
And it should also be noted that these objections have been raised by the head of the Kree Nation, not the Kree Nation entirely. There's still a consultation with elders before it formally contacts the company to say that this is the Kree position on this. And this Kree Nation headman, Milton Tatutis, also did say that I certainly hope it being the Kree being included in Civilization 6 helps more than it hurts the cause, and the cause is being referred to, and I also kind of feel like this is tying into why this is a particular issue, not just that you didn't consult the Kree, but the fact that you included Poundmaker as the leader is because the Kree Nation is currently working with the Canadian government to formally exonerate Poundmaker for a treason conviction he received after a Northwest Rebellion in 1885. So the timing is that there's a political connection to this as well. And conversely, by the way, the gentleman who was responsible for creating the music was Kree. And he said that he was kind of taken aback that he and his fellow band members have been criticized for being a part of this project, which included Poundmaker and the depiction of the Kree. And he said, I feel bad. I feel sorry that certain people were offended by this and saw it as a negative. But he says, I don't see anything negative in the video game's depiction of Poundmaker. I'm happy that the Kree music is going to be heard across the globe thanks to the game, and although I haven't been able to substantiate this yet from another source, it has been reported that this individual who made the music for the Kree in the game is actually the great-grandson of Poundmaker's brother.
that would be
Ooh.
interesting. I've actually heard a sample of that music. It's very, very nice.
So, and I guess there's a part of me that thinks a little bit back to, oh my gosh, and I'm forgetting, back in Civilization 5, who was not included because they objected?
Pueblo, yeah.
That's it. And then in the end, who was included instead? Oh my gosh.
Shoshone.
The Shoshone, thank you. So, someone might say, well, that happened because it was the consideration of inclusion of an American native civilization as compared to a First Nations in Canada. So I mean, I don't know what efforts were made to try to contact the Cree Nation, because 2K so far has refused to comment, and quite frankly, I don't blame them for refusing to comment, because at this point, like, quote-unquote, what is done, and besides, even the person who is complaining, who is the head, and again, it's not the official position, he is saying, well, we're not happy that this was done, but maybe 2K can talk to us now about it, and in fact, maybe it will actually help more than hurt, because it is raising the profile of our nation. So even then, I think a lot has been made, understandably, about the negative, because that's what gives headlines, but there's all these other kind of yeah but kind of things. So it's I think in certain respects across a lot of different parties, more is being made out of it than there actually is. But still, it's not every day that a computer game, let alone a strategy game, makes national headlines in a country for controversy, for inclusion, because it's like, wait, this isn't about a first-person shooter? What's happening right now?
Controversy for inclusion as opposed to exclusion.
It's like, wait, we're letting people know that, hey, there are gamers out there that don't play first-person shooters. We're not the only part of the gaming community. Just FYI.
You just gotta wonder how many people now know of the Shoshone because of Civ 6 or Civ 5.
Yeah.
How many people know that there's a city in Idaho called Pocatello?
Mm-hmm.
A fairly
Oh.
decent sized city as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, a little bit of a breather, at least, timing depending here, on Civilization 6 Rise and Fall news. And now some PolyCast-related news, starting with the only person on the panel right now who really should be responding to feedback on our Christmas special in any way, even though I did on Civilization Fanatic Center. But I'm going to give the lead to Mackie here to discuss it here on this episode.
Yeah, because a lot of people saw girls playing Civ 3 and thought we were actually going to be playing Civ 3. Which I get that.
I thought it was
people...
some sort of next level thing that you guys were doing as well. So
see, Dan, it's not just these few people who responded.
No, and so my position, of course, on that is that I said, I'll just quote myself, and I'm going to leave it at that because I've said all I'm going to say on this piece of feedback. I think to call it a controversy is would also be exaggerating. But what responded... Let me start my sentence again. What caused me to respond to this at all, because I didn't respond to the first person that made that reference, but the person Disgustipated who said misleading title. And I just said that was the part that got me to say, oh, okay, I'll just kind of edge in here with my 2 cents. Respectfully, this is one interpretation, and I maintain not the dominant one for 2 reasons. First, Civ 3, as was spelled out, Civ space THREE, is not a common naming convention for Civilization 3. But second, the news item accompanying the special also references both previous Girls Playing Civ specials. And then I said, if you're looking for Civ 3 commentary, our Modcast sibling actually did a focus special on it in 2014. But hey, if this is quote-unquote controversy or somewhere along the way and it gets more people to listen, then hey, I'm all for that too.
More views, yes.
You're better off calling it a non-traversy.
Pretty much.
Oh, a non-traversy, nice.
Yeah, get that wordplay in there.
Uberfrog, in addition to thanking us for a great episode, said he found himself agreeing with the panel that he hopes that alliances, which we still haven't heard about much, have a bit more to them than just modified production and research. A truly cooperative way to win would be a much better diplomatic victory than gaming UN votes. Yeah, we would all like that one.
And as all of us on this panel, either regular or recurring players on Turncast, where we enjoy cooperative multiplayer, we are so on board with this notion so that we can formally end a game. Not that we dislike our in-house rules, but, we did have the ability to formally win back in Civilization 4, at least some of us. And, it's 2 civilizations later, so where is that, by the way? Where'd it go? Bring it back.
Hi. Cooperative? Yes, please.
I mean, Civ 5 had cooperative, but it was kind of terrible because if everyone chose a different tech, then you just never finished a tech ever.
Yeah, it was like that. No. Okay, guys, what are we researching this time? We got to coordinate. and have fun trying to do that in a game where you only have typing chat available. Oy.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. What was the other one? Shaglia. Yeah, thank you. Who forgot which panelist it was. It was Willow. Said that she liked Great Person Farming 4. She's interested in making the jump to 6. Play as Russia. Well, she may give it another swing when the expansion comes out. Right now, she's kind of meh about it. So.
Yeah, I mean, she owns Civilization 6, but she hasn't played it in a very, very long time, essentially since like a month or 2 after the release. So it's just saying, hopefully the expansion pack, even if it's not when it's first released, that at some point, in the coming months, maybe she will dare to try it again, even though, yes, it does mean an additional purchase. But it's not like Civilization 6 was her first Civ title either, so hopefully it'll be enough, with the history of the game, plus the history with us and those of us that are still playing it, that we could convince her to at least, give it another go.
Yeah, I think that's about all the things that were specifically related to the special, except for somebody who had, who was it? Oh, Timothy, who had downloaded it and started playing. It's like, what is this? Then check the title. Oh, okay. Wait, this is PolyCast. Okay.
Yeah. Not specific to the girls playing Civ Christmas special, but all the Christmas specials. You do not have your standard music at the beginning. Typically, there's either speech or there's Christmas music that's playing throughout. So it definitely does sound different, and that is purposely intentional. But I also work to have different Christmas music every year, even if sometimes it's maybe at this point it's the same song, but now it's they're singing instead
The
of it being
dubstep
instrumental.
version.
Yeah, that it's a different artist, or there's actually lyrics to it now, or there's not lyrics to it now. I've actually moved away more and more from Christmas music with lyrics in it, and more with just straight music in it, so that way it's easier to have it in the background. But anyway, we thank all those who, of course, listen to the Christmas special, and of course to you, Mackie, for leading the third in the series. So when we had the first Girls Playing Civ was, wow, this is unique. And then the second time might say if it was a coincidence, but now that we have a third, there's a pattern. So the fourth
What was
Girls
it,
Playing
once every
Civ...
5 years?
Yep, so the fourth Girls Playing Civ special, we'll see you in 2022. Shall we mark that on the calendar right now?
You never know. It could be sooner.
I was to say, you have a 2022 calendar
I'm not
already,
promising
Dan?
nothing.
I'm pretty sure you could go online and find 3022 calendar if you really wanted, so that's not really a concern, but...
I still don't have a 2018 physical calendar, so I should get one.
Will you have a digital one?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're not completely behind the times then. That's okay.
Yeah.
Only partially behind the times.
I don't have a calendar. I haven't had a calendar since 2010.
Well, then you're really behind the times. How are you even here right now?
Yeah, the best question, Candace, is how would you know if you don't have a calendar?
I was going to say the sundial, but okay.
Oh, there you go.
So next, we're going to spread this across 2 episodes. The 2017 listener feedback survey that we had powered through SurveyMonkey. It was, I'm going to be upfront here, definitely showing a decreasing level of interest in the survey being completed. There were only 24 responses, which is a 46% drop from 2016. So, in my mind, and this is something to think about over the years, should we try to find another way to conduct the survey? Should we not conduct the survey at all? Or my preferred interpretation right now is that everything is so amazing on the show, why would I just send you... Let me finish my sentence, although, fair enough. That the show is already so amazing, that you guys are already so awesome, I just couldn't possibly inflate your ego anymore. So, but anyway.
Or you always put this out around the holidays and most people are too busy doing things with their family to bother with the survey, Dan. I mean...
the timing of the survey maybe it's something that would be better to be conducted in January. I certainly... Well, there's no point in doing it earlier in the year, because the year isn't over yet. But there's certainly nothing precluding doing it from January. That's an interesting idea as well, an interesting notion. That is true.
You're also coming down off of a couple years back. Mad Jin did the whole thing on his stream where he was like, hey, go vote in this thing. And a lot of people did, even though they may or may not have been listeners.
That is also true. There is no way for us to discern if you filled out the survey. Did you even listen to a single second of a single episode, or even download part of a full episode? There's no way we can connect that and verify that. That is true. But to those of you who are listening to this episode right now, and I think we do a pretty good job of marketing that the survey is available. But if you're listening to this episode right now and you missed filling out the survey, or you did fill out the survey and you're thinking, gosh, I wish there were more responses, because looking at the download statistics, all I will say is roughly we can approximate that there's about 1,500 of you listen to each of these episodes. So how can we get more of you to provide feedback a year end and also throughout the entire year? We're always open to it. You've heard some suggestions already. Only accessible to Mackie as well as the Mean Team and Mega Bears fan who are not here. Were just the comments. I don't know if you managed to download that document or not, Mackie, but there weren't that many.
No.
Okay, there weren't that many, and this is not just because there were 46% fewer responses, although I think that also had an impact. There were proportionally fewer responses
Well,
as well.
even on most given surveys, I think when you've done this before, that's not been a big thing for the actual responses. Because most people, when you give them an option to have additional feedback, unless there's something very specific they want, they won't put anything in.
That is true. So we're specifically referring to question 10 for those who are not familiar, which was not required, but it was the free-form answer. Whatever else you want to say, either something based on something that we already asked you or didn't ask you. And actually one of them was, why can I not leave question on 9 unanswered, which was specifically the one about who is your favorite co-host. Regular co-host. I interpret that as they wanted to choose all of us as their favorite co-host. And that's just why you cannot leave that unanswered is we want you to choose somebody. If you had to choose somebody as your favorite regular co-host, it's simply bragging rights, nothing any more serious than that. There was also the comment, more puns please. No problem, although we actually haven't done that this episode
You sure that wasn't a troll comment?
I can confirm that was a troll comment.
There actually also was the comment troll. So I guess they
troll comment.
They trolled us by filling out the survey. Thank you? Question mark.
That was Phil, wasn't it?
Probably.
It could very well be. Here is looking to 10 more years. Winky face. So I guess they're serious. To be clear, as of last year, we were on for actually 11 seasons, so they don't want us to go to season 22, only to season 21. Well, okay, I guess that's fair. There was, I already miss, sorry, I'm going to back this up. Going to miss Majin, keep going strong in 2018. There was also, the show should be better next year since grumpy old man Majin isn't a co-host anymore.
Oh.
That may have been me.
That may have been you. And of course, there was also the I already missed Dan Jin. Wow.
Oh, gosh. Dan's favorite comment of all.
Yeah. Well, I kind of embrace that Majid, not so much.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder why.
The one substantive comment was, quote, you guys are doing an awesome job, keep it up. I really like the Senate and theater segments you've done, but I also love the sound of having interviews, and especially the Time Machine segment. Would be very interesting and help keep the show fresh, I think. All the best for the 2008 season. I will be listening, unquote. Aww. I must say, the support for having the interview segment, which is where we speak with key individuals within the Civilization community, it was not something we did in 2017. We're trying to get people from 2K and Firaxis to come back on the show. Scheduling hasn't worked out, unfortunately, for a few years, so we'll keep going on that. But the support for the Time Machine segment, which I thought was interesting, simply because we usually don't get any comments on the Time Machine segment, although tying into maybe a comment from last year, if we were to do a Time Machine segment again, it would not be scripted like we did the last time a couple of years ago. I was trying something different. We were acknowledging however many years it had been, I think since Civilization 4 Vanilla had been released, and we would go back to more of a conversation about something. Although off my head in 2018, like a 5-year interval or a 10-year interval or a 20 or 25-year interval. I don't know, it's probably been 5 years since, maybe the last Civilization 5 expansion pack came out in 2013. Maybe look on the date on that and talk about that formally wrapping up Civilization 5. I don't know if anyone else can think of something that 2018 might mark in terms of a nice big round number as such of things, but we will certainly keep that in mind. So we thank you to those who provided that feedback. In terms of the other feedback, and seeing as how Canis ultimately is on this episode, is actually worthwhile to acknowledge that something I forgot that I said I was going to stop doing, I just kind of went and did anyway, which was asking about the episode recording choice. I did phrase it differently this year. It was, do you want it to be bi-weekly or do you want it to be weekly, as opposed to including the every other month and every quarter question. So I did simplify the question, but still in the end, and you know it's going to come down between bi-weekly and weekly. And the result was every other week at 83% of the votes. And I think part of that is just being conditioned to how often we record the show already. So I will affirm now that I will retire this question in any shape and form for next year.
For sure this time.
For sure's on that. I'm a politician, you can believe me.
Put yourself a note in your calendar for next year, later this year. So when I do the survey, I don't need to put that question in because you're going to forget.
Probably true. Mackie
Or maybe Dan just goes and next levels us and cuts out this entire section from his recording so no one knows it happened.
Oh, so many comments I could make from that. Not going to.
Oh, you're so good. Passion, showing excitement in what is being said on the show. We actually went up a percentage point to 8.3 out of 10. And dialogue, connecting with the show's audience, we went up 3% to a 7.9 rating out of 10. So yay us. We're doing some things well. No surprise here, for the second year in a row, our listeners, again based on the survey, want us to cover Civilization 6. Civilization 6 was the first preference across two of the possible choices for a combined 86%. Although I did find it amusing that now 50% would prefer us to talk about Civilization in general next, as opposed to Civilization 5. Which I suppose is...
Oh, well, now that 6 has been out for a while, everybody's calmed down about that. Oh, why don't you talk about 5 anymore? Because while there's a significant amount of people playing it, there's far more people playing 6 now, and everybody wants to hear about the strategies on that.
And what else is maybe coming up next, and other things that we talk about, Civ, occasionally there's something on the console or something like that that's released. But I also think it's, what more could we talk about with Civilization 5? Because it's complete. And we've exhausted it, like Civilization 4. Like, there really hasn't been anything new that I've been made aware of that we haven't talked about before. So...
Yeah, because before 5 came out with Civ 4, we were starting to repeat ourselves. So...
Yes. And another question, I'm actually considering retiring simply because the results really haven't changed. How do you think we should be promoting the show? Once again, fan communities topped the list at 92%. For the second year in a row, Reddit was second. Actually, I take it back. Reddit and YouTube were tied this year in second at 75%. And so that's good. And before that, third place was always Twitter, with YouTube in second and fan communities in first. So that question may be retired now, because that's 5 years in a row of very little movement, very little change, even though the show has changed and what we've talked about has changed as compared to when we first asked this question for the 2013 year. Wow. I'm going to talk about Patreon support last, because that ties into the last topic under this open mic thing. Okay, segments. Favorite segment. And again, we are a strategy show. And I'm pleased to report that once again, our specific dedicated strategy segment was not the most popular segment requested.
Whoop.
That would be a tie between Forum Talk and News, which, given people are filling out this survey, roughly a month after the announcement of the Rise and Fall expansion pack, and then talking about what's included in the expansion pack, I think kind of helped fuel Forum Talk and News. Just kind of throwing that out there. But still, Senate was in second at 87%, and in third place was Interview at 67%. The only segment to not get at least 50% of the responses was the segment that was specifically named by somebody as wanting to hear more, and that was Time Machine, down at 42%. But everything else had at least 50%, where they wanted us to include it at least once over the course of 12 months. And then, of course, comes to the guest return support and favorite co-host. And in terms of guest return support, Canis, for the last 2 years, you have been in second. You were second by yourself in 2015, and you tied with Q&L for second in 2016. Congratulations on being first now. The guest that most people want to see return, 62% of respondents said they wanted you amongst anybody else. In second place is Alpha Shard, who was first for the last 3 years. He was at 57%. And Warning You Two, Mega Bears Fan, and the Chris D in 52%. Well, for those of you who voted for Mega Bears Fan, I'm afraid he's definitely not coming back as a guest. But that's because he's the new fourth regular co-host. Ha!
Yeah. Troll.
Speaking of troll, and only 13% of respondents chose nobody, which was good because the first 4 years we actually had a third or more of people responding not wanting any of the guests back, so that's definitely an improvement.
Wow.
And in terms of favorite regular co-host, congratulations to you, Mackie. You were back in first again with 38% of the vote, and in second place was the absent the Mian team at 25%. So, Mackie, this was your second time in first place. Very good.
Yeah. I suspect some of this is because Grumpy Old Man quit. Where he's like, screw that guy. Vote for Mackie.
And in ascribing points to either a first place or a second placement or a third place, you are, unsurprisingly, Mackie, you are the favoritist of all. If I look at the number of times you were either first or second, you are ahead, and Phil and I are tied for second in that consideration. So just you're more consistent in being either first or second across the board. In fact, you've either been first or second since 2013. So, well done to you, ma'am. Well done to you.
Woo. It's because I make all the fun comments.
Yes, there's that. And I'm really resisting the you know what line, but I think...
do it, Dan.
No. Bad Dan.
I know New Earth Relic really wants to jump in with that, but I won't.
What does the Renaissance have to do with anything we're talking about?
Not that one. No, not that one. That was retired from Civilization 5, the whole Renaissance reference. But yeah, no, I think the fact that, up until, obviously this year will be a little different, particularly between Mad Jin and I. We go back and forth, and then Mackie would just come in and boom! All right, that's the end of that conversation. There's the finality to the topic. Mackie has spoken, and on we go. That could very well be a part of it. And actually, I think we have, in fact, covered the annual survey in this one episode. Yes. And then finally, in open mic, our changes to our Patreon campaign. Have a look at patreon.com/thepolycast. Look for our post, specifically mine, from December the 13th of last year, where there's an increased commitment to campaign for greater variety. The things that I'm going to point out are the items that we've added new for 2018, which is if you are a patron, after each PolyCast live recording, such as for this episode, you could have a chat with us through our Discord channel with one or more of the regular co-hosts to discuss, I say anything with an asterisk. No, we will not date you. But we will talk more about Civilization if you like, or the PolyCast. And no, we will not hook you up with our hot friend either. Sorry.
Sorry.
We have a Discord?
Yeah,
Apparently we do.
There is a PolyCast Discord now. Yes, specifically for patrons of the show. And speaking of patrons, Canis Albinus, who is our top tier patron, you should have received, Canis, a link on how to join our Discord. If not, then I can look at that afterwards. But
We'll worry about that later.
We'll worry about that later. The other promotion, the other addition that I said that you would be getting is if you are at the $10 or more tier, then you are going to gain access to PolyCast Productions the day before anyone else, and that's less than 24 hours. I specifically didn't say 24 hours before. When I say the day before, that could technically mean, in the 11 o'clock hour one night, and then the wee hours of the morning the next day it's released. You're probably looking at more like half a day, which, tying also back into our survey results, the least popular for a change was actually this one. Let's see. Just want to double check here. The percentage that actually supported our doing this was only at 19%, whereas the patron-only chat had a 50% support, whereas access to PolyCast live stream recordings, unedited and unpolished, was very popular at 81%. So what happens with that is after this recording, anyone who is at the $25 tier or higher, which would be one of the panelists right now, because we just have the one. Thank you again, Canis. Will be able to access a patron-only post that gives you a link to an unpublished version of the live stream, which is also similar to how I do the access to productions that haven't been released yet. It's been uploaded to YouTube. It's currently unlisted, but then it will become publicly accessible along with being published on our website, etc., etc. But that's for any PolyCast production. Whereas if you want access to the live stream, and I know we had people in the past saying, "Give us access to the live stream. Give us access to the live stream," I decided that okay. Yes, we'll go ahead and do that, and in consulting with Mackie and Phil, the main team, we said yes, we would do that for those who are going to be giving us a pledge of $25 or more per month. And for those of you familiar with Patreon, again, I want to reiterate that these tiers are per month. It is not based on the number of productions that we release, which is how some people, understandably, in their own structure, do their own Patreon campaigns. So again, more at patreon.com/thepolycast. Okay, so in terms of our recording, we are about 10 minutes before 2. So seeing as how New Earth Relic and Canis are unlikely to be on the next episode of the show, was there... I said unlikely.
Just unlikely.
Just unlikely. Since we've got time, is there something else from the announcement of Rise and Fall that you wanted us to talk about on this episode? And I will start with NER.
Can we create the Curse of Dan, where every time that we have a PolyCast recording, they immediately followed up about 3 days later with a giant announcement?
And we even shifted this year's recording schedule by 1 week, and yet still...
I'm pretty sure that they have some sort of secret Dan stalker at 2K whose only job it is to figure out when Dan does these recordings and schedule around it. That's the only way that's possible for that to happen.
I don't know.
Well, if that is your job, you are earning your pay, sir. Or ma'am. I tell you what.
Every time. Tried to do that to prevent that for this year, but no.
Okay. What about you, Canis? We'll go back to New Earth Relic after this, but NER has chosen his. What about you, Canis? Something about the Rise and Fall?
Please, 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 please fix the start positions.
Oh, the issue we've been having lately with, hey, look, I started here. Wait, why is there a city-state next to me?
Yeah.
That would be great.
It'd be real nice. That's about it, really. I mean, I haven't had a lot of time to look at the specific, like, non-Civ related stuff. But it all looks pretty decent to me from here, so I'm satisfied.
I'm with you on this, Canis, but I feel the need to raise the counter-argument to your point that I have seen, which is really twofold. The first one being, well, what's the problem? Just go and conquer them, then.
But they give me all this free gold per turn if they stay, my friend.
I can't settle my city, dang it.
Yeah, that's the problem. Go conquer them. Well, I gotta build a city first. This is how this works in Civ. Build city, build units, question mark, profit.
Exactly.
And to a lesser extent, I've seen the argument, it sounds like you're really just pushing to have a wide empire. Maybe you should try a tall empire for a change. Which is so troll-tastic. I mean, the other argument about just go conquer the city-state, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. But this one, I'm like, wow,
what?
How long did it take you to think of that one? This is not Civ 5.
Does it make me a bad person if whenever I hear it looks like you're trying to do a wide civilization, all I can think of is a picture of Clippy?
I was wondering that, because I was like, isn't that like a Clippy thing? Are you trying to do X? Do you need help with this? No, go away, Clippy.
All right. It's time for the unspoken segment on PolyCast. You see, kids.
What?
in Microsoft Word, and for some of them, you see, kids, there was this word processor called. Okay, probably not that yet. Probably not that just yet.
Dan.
But Clippy was
Talk
this
about being a grumpy old man.
I know, right? The Clippy was this helpful, air quotes, avatar when you would first start.
Looks like.
Microsoft Office product, not just Word, although I normally associate it with Word and Excel. And based on whatever you were typing or trying to do, it was trying to interpret that, oh, you're trying to do this, and would pop up as an overlay on your screen. Sometimes right where you were trying to type. Go away, Clippy. And if you didn't disable him, he would keep coming back and back and back like a bad rash.
Microsoft's first attempt at heuristic analysis. It went about as well as the first attempt at any of that goes.
Yeah.
Now, if only had some useful UI designers at Microsoft.
What the heck did they do to Microsoft Word 2007? It was the ugliest thing since the history of bread.
That UI sucks?
Yes.
Am I doing it right?
Yes.
Thanks,
Okay.
Phil.
Thanks, Phil. Dan, out of my head. Seriously.
All right, New Earth Relic. Something else about Rise and Fall that has been announced that we have not yet discussed?
Honestly, I think we've hit all the major points that I can think of. I mean, there's going over some of the wonders and stuff, but that's for next or 2 weeks from now. So,
okay. Well, before I go to Mackie to see if there's something that she would like us to discuss on this episode, the one thing that I want to mention to start with is that the lead designer for Civilization 6 Rise and Fall is not Ed Beach, who was the lead designer on Civilization 6 and both Civilization 5 expansions. That's actually Anton Strenger, who is the lead systems and gameplay designer on Civilization Beyond Earth.
Now, calm down.
So, based on what we have seen of the, if that was the first thing I had read before I had read anything about the Rise and Fall expansion, I'd be like, oh dear. But I kind of feel like that he's learned from that experience based on not only what we have seen, but the fact that, Ed Beach does still work at Firaxis. So, it's not Anton, quote-unquote, off on his own. The senior producer, by the way, is Andrew Fredrickson, who was a lead producer for Beyond Earth. So, I'm just going to take it, based on what we've seen, I think they've learned. I like to think that they've learned some lessons, hard-learned lessons from Civilization Beyond Earth.
Beyond Earth mechanically was fine. It was just very generic, and that was part of the problem around it.
Yeah, everyone's expecting Alpha Centauri too, and the original Alpha Centauri had so much flavor to it, and then that was kind of like, well, this is nice, but
it would end up being kind of bland. It also didn't help that it was being compared to one of the greats. So
yeah, it was a very, very steep hill they were going to have to climb anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, playing Civilization Beyond Earth was like chewing gum. At the start, pretty good flavor. And then the more you chewed, the less appealing it became. And then you wanted to spit it out and throw it away. Was that too harsh?
A little bit. It's not a bad game. It just,
It's kind of
boring.
generic,
Yeah,
and that's.
It doesn't have enough. It doesn't have enough historical flavor.
Yeah, because I've been watching a series where somebody who hasn't played in a long time has been playing Alpha Centauri, and there's just all of this stuff in there, and I'm going, yeah, this is particularly has to do with because one of the things he's trying to do is not talk over the leader quotes, because that was so much of the thing. And they developed the character of all this. It's not that the Beyond Earth team didn't develop the character of the leaders they have, but there was something that came together about the sets of leaders in Alpha Centauri that didn't quite gel together in Beyond Earth for some reason.
Well, do you remember in Rising Tide when we got the communiques, how all of a sudden they all sounded different? Like, I remember noticing big character differences only through that. Like, that was how we figured out that Susan Fielding was from Texas.
Yeah, it's like, well, that would have been useful to know earlier. I mean,
it's in the Civilopedia, but
you wouldn't have known from anything she said or anything. Yeah. Whereas in Alpha Centauri, right from the start, you have quotes from them from fictional books that's giving you a great idea of their personality.
Those were the tech quotes. But,
yeah.
But they were all in the same voice in Beyond Earth. So it was like,
right.
How do you know that this person is talking about that?
Yeah. It's like having the voice to text read you something.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the voice that they used in Beyond Earth. It was a pretty voice. But at the same time, wouldn't it have been better if every time they were quoting Kavitha, the person who voiced Kavitha would speak?
Yeah, that was a pretty easy chance to have an improvement. And they just missed on that one.
Okay. Mackie, anything from Rise and Fall?
No, I think it's all stuff we're going to get to next time with like the wonders and things like that. So, you know, I just wanted to have that little aside there because I know we have a little bit of fun poking at things. Oh no, is this Beyond Earth? But no. They were doing a good job. It just didn't come together quite the way everyone had wanted. You know, I feel sometimes we're a little unfair about that. You know, that those people did a lot of work on that, and we crap on them a little bit. There was an article earlier this week about some of the people. This is why you're not getting the games you want, because all these jerks come on the forums and give the developers such a crap time about the littlest stupid things, where we should actually be giving them a little bit more support, because that's a lot of work to put a game together. And you could tell from the interviews from the guys who did Beyond Earth, they really enjoyed what they were doing and behind it. And then everybody coming around and crapping on it has to be like the worst feeling.
Well, I think thus far, even though it has been said from the beginning who the lead designer is, who the lead producer is, and their connection so far in the Civilization series, I have not seen the negative reaction to, oh, it's this person, and so therefore I'm going to question this announcement and this part of the announcement and this part of the announcement. So hopefully again, lessons have been learned from Beyond Earth and are now being applied well in Civilization 6. We will definitely be talking about mostly new systems on the next episode for Civilization 6 Rise and Fall, which again will be our last episode before before the expansion is released, rather. We'll be talking about the 2 final new civilizations that have yet to be announced as of this recording. But in terms of just kind of ending this, some miscellaneous changes, and one of these miscellaneous changes actually touches upon something that has been said already. We're going to get a new spy mission. Remove a governor from city and return him or her to the unassigned pool. Ooh. Regional variations for the monument appearance being added. Spies now have missions to reduce loyalty in foreign cities, and again, we'll get into loyalty more in the next time. Additional trade routes are now unlocked with the market and lighthouse instead of with the base districts, which sounds very, very significant, actually.
Yeah, I can't just spam harbors.
Yeah, or span commercial districts. Oh, for additional trade routes. No.
Yes.
But that's actually probably a good thing, because we've talked about why do production in this game when you can go gold upon gold upon gold and more gold. All civilizations now get a combat bonus for their units versus a particular civilization based on their diplomatic visibility with that civilization, and map generation has been modified to increase separation between major civilizations. Doesn't help with the city-state thing, but maybe that'll be incidental in there. I don't know if there's a connection between spawning a major civilization and spawning a city-state, so maybe if the civilizations are farther apart, then maybe there won't be quite so many city-states around you too. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, and right, and lastly, speaking of Civilization 6, I know this is your topic, Mackie, but we'll just address it. While all this is going on with the Rise and Fall expansion, apparently Aspyr Media, the long-standing porter of Civilization titles to the Mac and Linux, have brought out Civilization 6, the full port, over to the iPad, and other than the fact that it costs $60 and doesn't include any downloadable content, so this is just vanilla Civ 6 through and through, it's actually been receiving some pretty rave reviews, so there you go. It is possible for a Civilization 6 port to be done well and right from the outset. And given some of the negativity that has been leveled against Aspyr, and also some of the negativity that Aspyr has expressed publicly back towards 2K and Firaxis in terms of timeliness of things, it's nice to have some positive news on the Mac front for Civ.
Yep.
Oh, we probably also need an iPad to play it too. I'm just going to throw that out there, which might be an additional cost.
Probably.
It's probably an additional cost too. I don't think you're going to get that for free. Although, maybe. It depends who you're connected with.
It was also half off until January 5th. So,
Yeah.
8 days ago.
Yeah, as of this recording. And it's like, who's... yeah, and at the busiest time of year, it's like, hey, we released this and it's half off. Oh, wait, not anymore. Wait, what? Well, snooze, you lose, I guess. Speaking of snoozing.
Conchu?
Gesundheit?
Anyway, this has been episode 298 of PolyCast, the first one for 2018. I'm Makalua. With me as usual, Dan Quick.
We rise from the fall.
And our guest co-host this round, New Earth Relic.
I am apparently being Phil. Your UI sucks.
And Canis Albinus.
Oh, hi. I forgot. What? I mean, is this the way it goes? Darn.
Yeah, that sounds like me most of the time, honestly.